Thank you all for
Greetings.
being here.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm really, this is a really special moment. I'm really excited, and it's great to see everybody's faces all together like this. You know, this is the first time that anything like this has really happened. All these Vincentian filmmakers coming together, and even non-Vincentian filmmakers who've made work in St. Vincent. So this is the first time we're ever really kind of hanging out like this. So, you know, it's a really special moment, I think, for myself and also for the whole HFF team, I can say. So thank you all so much for being here and for your amazing work. So today, a little bit about how the Q&A is gonna run. So basically, I've got a couple questions, so we'll just chat. And then if we have any questions from the audience in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we'll take some of those. And yeah, it's just for us to just hang out and connect with each other over this art form that we all love. And then at the end, I have a special announcement too, which I'm excited. So in terms of logistics, we'll just do it in the order that we showed the films, if that makes sense. And then of course, if anybody has any comments about anybody else's work, or you want to big up anybody, or you want to say anything, just jump in, and we can chat. So, okay, so we're gonna start with Jamali because we don't have Sean with us today. Sean's in Taiwan and he couldn't make it. He did the little animation in the beginning. So Jamali, thank you for being here, and thank you for being so supportive of the festival always. You are a constant presence and we really appreciate that. So your film, I love your background, by the way, it's great.
Oh, thank you.
Whale hunting.
I was saying earlier, I hope it wasn't too tacky.
Oh no, I think it's great. I mean, bring all the flair. Good. So whale hunting, obviously this is a huge tradition in St. Vincent, right?
Yeah.
And of late, I think probably in the last couple of years, it's become more, I think people have started to bring up the controversy around it, and then the conversation around that about whether it should be banned or, you know, has started to emerge. I know people have different opinions about that.
Yeah.
So I guess I wanted to ask you, like, you know, why did you want to document this, and how did it feel to be out there? Like, did you get on, it looks like at one point like you're on top of the whale.
Well, I'll tell the story about that. You know, it actually, I would say, came about by happenstance because I was in Bequia for a meeting actually, but incidentally, my meeting was supposed to be sometime in the early afternoon, and usually when you go into Bequia, you try to get out on the first boat. So while I was just basically killing time, I met up with, and I'm sure a number of people might know this name, Herman Belmar, and he has been a representative in Bequia for quite some time. And he mentioned the fact, I was in Port Elizabeth, which is the capital of Bequia. He mentioned that a whale came in, or they caught a whale. And to be honest, I should have known something because it was the first time I came into Bequia and Port Elizabeth was almost completely dead. Which for anyone who's been to Bequia knows that doesn't really happen. It's always lively and so on. So he said that he was going to go over there. And I thought, well, I have some time to kill. Maybe I had my camera, I had my drone, and so I thought, okay, why not?
Had you been before? Have you seen something?
No, this was the first time. This was the first time. And I'm glad you asked that because as a Vincentian, as you mentioned earlier, whaling is a big part of especially culture in Bequia. I've had whale before, but I've never experienced it. And I'm glad you mentioned the controversy, which I will get to, a little later. But anyway, I thought, okay, I'll just go maybe set up, my camera has a pretty good zoom lens. I would just get some shots. And then he said, would you like to go over? So I'm thinking, this might be a once in a lifetime opportunity. So again, I'm thinking I'll just jump in a small boat and go over. And wow, that was an experience because the boat was a lot smaller than I expected. The ride over took maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes. But the most interesting thing to me is that I was expecting to get on a nice dock and step off with all my equipment. No, it wasn't like that. I had to get into the water. And you can see from the film, it wasn't exactly blue water, you know? So I just decided that whatever happens, I'm just gonna roll with it because I don't know when I'm going to have this opportunity again. And this is what I love about a number of the films I saw, especially documentary films. I like what you call the authenticity of it. Yes, fiction films are okay, I'm not knocking them, but I just love the gritty authenticity of just capturing things in the moment. And at that point in time, I had no idea I was going to do anything with the footage. I just thought it's an opportunity to capture something. I don't know when I'll be here again. And then after capturing everything, with my phone or with the drone or with the camera, got back, and maybe a few months, well, probably not months, maybe a few weeks later, I was going through the footage and thought, hey, this might make something interesting. And again, I wasn't really planning to do it as a film, just that I have all this footage. Let me put it into a sequence. And then when everything with Hairouna Film Festival came up in 2019, I thought, okay, this will probably make a good submission. So that's a very small synopsis of how it came to be. But and stop me whenever because I realize there's so many of us and I'd love to hear about
So much.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, you could say you could make one more point and then we can move.
Yeah, the thing about Blue Blood, and it's interesting that you mentioned that one of the filmmakers is in Taiwan.
Mhm.
And I actually lived for 6 years in Taiwan, and there's this concept of uh, Lan Hai Hong Hai. Hong Hai is red blood, not blood, sorry, red water, and Lan Hai is blue water. And they have this concept that when in a particular field we collaborate, like filmmakers or musicians or whatever, whenever we collaborate, the water runs blue because it's nice and it's clear and everyone benefits from it. But when we see each other not as collaborators but as competitors,
Mhm.
then we fight, which reminds me of Hayden's film, which was a wonderful
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
But when we fight, the blood runs red. And
Mhm.
every one of the things I love about film is the duality of it, the contrast. And for me, that is what I saw in this thing, that here is this thing that for a certain group of people, it is seen as brutal. And I mean, I don't knock people who feel that way, but then it is contrasted between the absolute amazing beauty of Bequia. And then when you look at tradition with as contrasted with, we in St. Vincent and Grenadines, we are on the International Whaling Commission. So we only can catch 4 whales per year. And since 2013, when we signed on to that, we have never met that quota. And
Mhm.
for me personally, I work in the tourism industry. So I am at the crossroad of that duality, that conflict between the tradition and the respecting of the whales and all these things. So I didn't want to take a position on it in terms of where I land. I just wanted to, hey, this is what it is, and you make up your mind.
Well, I think and that I think is what comes across in the film. Like, it doesn't feel like you're not making any judgment about it. You're just reflecting
Mm-hmm.
what this day was like, and I
Yeah.
think, it's very interesting to hear everything you're talking about in terms of these contrasting realities, because that's a lot of what makes up the world, right? And our
Mm-hmm.
lives, you're like, oh, look at all these truths that are sort of coexisting, and it's
Yeah.
very interesting. And I'm sure we could talk for a whole hour about that. So we'll have to
Yeah.
save that for another
Mm.
day. But thank you so much
Yeah.
for
I want to hear
sharing that.
from these guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got a lot of amazing people to hear from. I just wanted to see, is Indira here?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Indira. Thank you for
Hi, Aiko.
joining us. It's so nice
Thank
to have
you for
you.
having me. I feel like I'm in such great company.
Yes, I know, right? It's so
Yeah.
great to have you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your submission. And you know, in your film, you're using this puzzle as like a metaphor. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what it stands for, or like what is it a metaphor for?
Yeah, sure. So I recently was diagnosed with cancer. It was a couple of years ago, and after I went through treatments, I had this feeling of trying to like piece my life back together. And I thought after everything was done, after treatment was done, that I would be able to like just jump back in and just kind of pick up where I left off. And that wasn't really the case. I found that it was more of a struggle than I thought it was. And it was something that I wasn't able to necessarily express with words. And I work as an actor, and this is sort of like my first foray into directing. And I felt like it was an opportunity for me to try to like illustrate exactly what it is I was feeling at the time, which was something I couldn't, express in words.
Wow, wow, what a journey. I'm sorry to hear that that happened to you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the process of making the film offered you some kind of catharsis, or it helped you sort of get it out?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, it wasn't something that I could express. It wasn't even something that I could like articulate like exactly how I was feeling. I just remember when I was going through the experience, just wanting to get to the end and wanting to just be able to, put it in hindsight. And then when I was at the end of the experience, that just wasn't the case. It was just very difficult for me to try to get my life back on track. So essentially, the film is about trying to piece your life back together after going through something traumatic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And where are you now? Have you started to like maybe put that picture back together a bit more?
Yeah, and there are times when I feel like it's extremely challenging, but I would say that I'm way like ahead of where I was when I first made it. I feel a lot better mentally, physically as well. I had the opportunity to be home for a few months. I just got back to Toronto actually, and spent some time with my family. So that in itself was very, very healing for me. So yeah, I'm
So
a lot better.
are you working on anything next, or are you gonna make any more work at this
Oh, I'm
point?
definitely gonna make more work. I was so inspired by all of these films tonight that I definitely want to put something else out. So yes, expect
That's
more.
fantastic. That's so
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, that's really what we hope that the festival will do, is just encourage everybody. Like, if we have this space to show our work, that's for us. There's always gonna be, at least one night for specifically for Vincentian work. So that's exactly what we hope. So thank you so much.
Mhm. And I really just do want to big up everyone. The films, I haven't seen all the films, but the ones that I've seen so far are excellent. So great job, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We got some talent.
Hmm.
Brilliant. So we've also got Kengy with us here. Am I pronouncing it right?
Kenji, yeah, you're
Kenji.
right. Yeah,
Hi.
hello.
Hi, Kenji. So you're in London, where I am as well right now, right?
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's late night here, so I'm sorry for joining late. I was just having difficulty problems. I've never done this before, so this is my
Welcome.
first time. Yeah.
Welcome to your
Yeah.
first Zoom. Well, I think like this is a good thing to have be your first
Yeah.
meeting. Yeah. So your film Blackness, it's like that this experimental short, I really love it. I love its energy. And you kind of like you show in portraits like different people. And I just wanted to ask you, like, how did it come about? Why did you want to make this film?
Well, I actually started this film when I was studying for my master's program here in London at Royal College of Art. And, me being the only Black student in my photography course, it's just something that automatically I just felt that it was needed to express, my Blackness, Black culture, and a predominantly white institution. So it was just a duty that I felt like I had to fulfill. So within the 2 years of the program, I basically traveled to countries that I could afford to go to, which was Sudan, Africa, which is the first time ever going, and between visiting home back in America, between New York, Miami, and also here in London, and Haiti and St. Vincent. So I just kind of wanted to just show the diaspora of Black culture and just give highlight to that and the variation of beauty and that, and appreciating the Black aesthetics of Blackness as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just very simple. That was actually like my first time doing a film. I did study photography, so I kind of wanted to experiment and intertwine my photography knowledge with filmmaking as well. So
amazing. So it was like the photography that kind of led you into start to make.
Definitely. And just seeing being in the program, being exposed to moving image, that kind of just expand, I guess, my knowledge and just kind of put things in a different perspective that, photography is more than just a still image. You can bring moving image into photography. So it was just a very eye-opening experience for me, and just a sort of a challenge as well.
So did you travel to these countries specifically because you wanted to film?
No, it wasn't planned. I just kind of documented as I went along. I just sort of collected all of these videos and moving images. Had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to sort of bring something together for my degree show at the time. And I just somehow just put it all together and just kind of make something work, very experimental, because that is what my art practice is about. You can get anything from me. So nothing was intentional, just collecting as I went.
Yeah, I mean, I love to work like that as well. Like it's almost like kind of how Jamali's film was made too, where you're just kind of going about and you're looking at things that really, compel you, and then you're sort of putting it together, and then you have this thing, and I like that process. I like that process. It's kind of, you're just sort of leaving yourself open to whatever,
Exactly, yeah.
There's a lot, like, I think that's also a good practice in life too, to kind of go with the flow. And
yeah, definitely. Because I find that, we can be very structured with how we do certain things, especially when it comes to creating. But I realize sometimes to save disappointment, I just rather just go with the flow and utilize what I have already to make a piece of work or a piece of art already. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Akley.
It's me. I was not later. I was later down on the list. Hello.
Oh, well, I have you here on the list.
Oh.
How are you doing? Thank you for being here.
I'm cool. I guess first I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity to be here and to be amongst other Vincentians who are creating films. It's a big thing for me to look at this screen and see so many other people who think telling our stories is worth it. And to be in this virtual room right now is really overwhelming for me. So just want to big up Aiko and the people behind HFF, and just keep it coming for us, please, so we could continue.
Sure. Well, it's a two-way thing, because if you guys aren't there, then we have no purpose, so
right.
So it's really important. And I think also, as I was thinking, like, there are some positives to having to go online, right? The fact that we're all kind of here able to sit around like this, it's a little more intimate than I guess maybe it would be at a live at a physical festival. So there's some benefits to that for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I know. I just want to big up everybody else too, like Dynamite and Jamali and everybody who I haven't seen in a very long time, even though with the hip on the rock. Well, Dynamite kind of move out and go Bequia and we, so all right, but just
move, my brother.
Amazing. So Akley, obviously your film has this really, really important message, and it's another great short film of yours. And it also is featuring your niece again. She's so cool.
Yeah, boy. I feel the real talent is my niece and not me. I just put the camera at the talent. But she's really amazing. I think she's growing up now, so the childhood sweetness of the intelligent little girl might have worn off because now she's about to leave prep school. So high school is a different thing. So I don't know if I'm prepared for that version of her yet. But the reason behind it again is the same thing, like I just feel it's important to put the voice of St. Vincent and of people that look like us out there. And I made this film around when, what was her name? Greta Thunberg, that climate change white girl. Yeah, no disrespect.
Yes.
Anyway, anyways, like she was just like all over the media. And I was like, well, she lives in Stockholm. And, like the climate is pretty much the same up there, except for the 6 months of light and 6 months of whatever. But here, like when a hurricane passed through, our lives are affected, like drastically. So we live with it. And I wasn't seeing any media from our kids, from our young people. So I said, well, I have a young person, I have a camera, so let we get up to say something. And
Mhm.
that was the motivation, just to like, let people know that this thing is really about us. It's really about the people who live on these small little islands who have so little but have to survive so much. So
Mhm.
that was the goal there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love that kind of that way of making something as well, where you kind of like a question you want to ask about the world, or a question you want to pose, or you see a gap, right? And then you're like, okay, I want to fill that gap, so I'm gonna create something
Yeah.
within that space. And that is something I think which is so powerful about well, film and the arts in general. And one of the roles of creative people, right, is to kind of fill those gaps and sort of highlight these things where things that maybe our society is overlooking in general. So I love it. So is there gonna be maybe like a third movie with her? Maybe it's like her coming of age.
Um,
Because I noticed in this one too, she's getting even more confident and comfortable in front of the camera.
yeah. I'm not sure what the issue is yet because, like I say, every time I do something with her, it's very impulsive and
Hmm.
kind of like, oh, I need to. So, I mean, I look forward to it. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what it's going to be about. Maybe it might be about makeup. I don't know, but we did that already. We did beauty already, so I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to working with more people and making more films, and I guess just making this thing that we're doing bigger.
Sure.
Another important thing, another very important thing for me. The next level of this is to put business behind what we do, because that's the way to make it like sustainable. Um, I know it might seem not so complicated, but I know there's a lot of business behind organizing this ICO. And I know a lot of us, like we do projects and we say like, oh, I'm walking around and I find this interesting. But from the point of view of St. Vincent, because we want to like do this and make it our livelihood, like you need to like figure out how to put business behind these projects, and
Hmm.
just figure out the business of film, which is what we really need on the ground right now. So,
What do you
I just wanted to put that out
what do you think
there.
that business, like from your perspective, what is that? What does it look like?
Well, Jamali may have a lot of insight because he works in the Ministry of Culture, specifically tourism. And the more we put the stories about how things are done on this island out there, the more interest we create around the island, and the more we encourage these tourists who we're so passionate about to come. So like the whole idea of making the island attractive, but also within that whole machinery of making it attractive, there's a group of creative people here who are capable of creating the stories and the visuals,
Hmm.
because I definitely feel like places like St. Vincent are often overlooked when it comes to like media creation or media that is created for the audience. There's 100,000 people who live here. So I mean, like I say, like you said, Aiko, it's like a gap. And I feel like, you know, in our own way, each of us have kind of like carved out a niche within that gap. And now, I mean, it's difficult to work with Vincy government and the culture and all of that. But as platforms like this allow media to become more democratic, you know, I feel like we have all the elements to like do something, you know, we have all the elements to create anything. But if we don't understand the business, you know, like how to work as a producer, or even better than that, how to arrange ourselves to work as a team on the ground to create bigger projects that we could sell to Netflix, or we could, you know. So that's what I mean, like how can we organize ourselves properly?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have the feeling that we're moving in that direction, bit by bit. I do really have that feeling, and I'd love to actually. I wanted to circle around to this question after we'd heard from everybody. So maybe afterwards we can, you know, open that up. And I'd love to hear what everybody thinks specifically about the film industry in St. Vincent, and we could pick that back up.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you. So Southside Quarry, Dynamite. Hi guys.
Hello.
August, and
Tom.
there's a whole squad. Who's that behind there?
Behind you. Hello, Bassi. Bassi. He's
Hi,
one of the
guys.
artists of Outside Quarry, and this is Shando. He's producer, also artist.
Amazing. Thank you guys for being here. So how did y'all connect with Dynamite? How did this thing come about?
Well, it started actually, I'm August, so he's Tom, just for the record. It started actually with my passion for the volcano. When I came here, I came to Bequia to live here. I did not anything with film. I was a cook for 10 years, a chef. I had my own catering business. I came here because it became a drag. It was a very hard job, a lot of hours. I came here to enjoy the nature and also to open a guest house. Fell in love with the nature of St. Vincent, with the volcano, and music was always a passion. And Shando, who's sitting behind me, is an artist who is with my sister. So we started to talk about starting a label and having artists and protecting artists also, because it would be run by artists themselves. Mm-hmm. So I saw Dynamite on his Instagram. We were a fan of Dynamite instantly. I didn't know him, and I saw on his Instagram he went to the volcano, and I just hit him up. We like the volcano as well. We're gonna do a film for another project as well. We want to be involved. He came the next day. He was very enthusiastic.
Like always.
Yeah, like always. So we met up the next day, and that's how I got to know him. And Tom wasn't here. And I wanted always to do something with Tom because Tom is a great filmmaker.
Yeah, I worked with the other two artists in the back right here before. And yeah, when he wanted to start the label, he hit me up. And fuck.
Of course.
I was afraid to take on the big project he had in mind, but later he told he had spoken with Dynamite, and they really wanted to do this with the whole label and thing. So I was at the end of my studies, and I came here
at the Ritz in Brussels.
Yeah, the Royal Institute of Theatre, Cinema, Sound.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And yeah, so it was like the perfect timing for him to hit me up. We came over. The first music video we did was this music video, and yeah, I don't know.
It was instantly the right time to do it, because after a few days later it erupted. The effusive eruption, it didn't erupt as the effusive eruption happened. So now it is possible to go, but they don't let you go. I think you could go if you really want. Mm-hmm. So we really were at the right moment, and it was also the last moment we decided that we thought it was the right track, the right video, because we met each other. I met Dynamite through the video, through the volcano. We did our first project. It felt right, and then it erupted. It was like a sign that it felt like a good start. And then we got invited by you guys also for our first project. So it feels all like connected at one point. And we grew like to the big family. We're with 5 now. Tom, his girlfriend, is here also.
Come, Lila, come
with 6 here in Bequia. And we're all just focused on music, video, and everything around it. And we work like a team, like Akley said. Like there's a lot of doing it, but you have to get the right people together to make it happen sometimes also. It is the whole, it's everything, it's like a chain, you know, everything is, you need to have the artists. Because yeah, without Dynamite, it wasn't possible.
And the experience of the music video is like the volcano was speaking to us, because when we was going up, the vehicle overheated, which we said no, usually.
It was the first time that it overheated.
Because you go a couple of times before and it never happened. When we was up there, a lot of magnetic stuff was sticking like to the rings and stuff like that. And it was a perfect day. We had a perfect day.
The drone did very strange, and the gear also. It was a strange day also in combination. And afterwards, we are not sure if it is that, but afterwards we said 2 phones stopped working, the drone stopped working, and the 2 phones were new. The drone was brand new.
Wow.
And there was, when I go to sand, it sticks on you, but it was more than usual. It really sticks to everything that was metal. You had those little black dust that stick to it. And afterwards, when it erupted, we say, yeah, that's why maybe all those things were happening at that time.
And it was like a week after we did the video.
Me personally, I believe in it. You have to believe it a little bit. I don't know if there's something behind it, but it felt stronger than the other times.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense, that's what would be going on. I mean, that's the kind of thing, right? It's like this incredible, beautiful volcano that has attracted you guys, you know, but also, you know, the reason why it exists is this force that it has within it, really powerful. But Dynamite, I wanted to ask you about the song itself. Why did you choose to shoot? Why did you want to shoot? Why did you think that the volcano was a good setting? Like, why did you like that idea? Because what I love about the music video too is it's very, you know, it's very, I found it really to embrace nature. And, you know, I'm my mother's daughter. I love nature. I grew up in nature. So I really connected with that aspect of it, and drinking out of the stream and all of that stuff. And so what do you think was the connection between the song and that location?
Yeah, well, the song come naturally to write. Akley heard this song before, right, Akley? I played this song for Akley, and I tell him, yo, this is the type of music I want to do, you know, as you know. I want to just tell my story a little bit before I go into the video, so I could tell and everything. Really and truly, my purpose in music is to, I saw a gap to fill, to encourage young youths, because when I was coming up, I really needed a lot of encouragement, and I didn't really get, so I had to really encourage myself. So I say I would have filled that gap, you know, through the music. And I spent 5 years in the hills with my dad when I was a kid, farming and stuff, you know. So I'm always connected to nature. I'm always going to natural places, and, you know, we're Rastas and we grew up with a lot of Rastas. So the fact that I posted a picture on, you know, Instagram, and it was at La Soufrière, and then we end up doing the video at La Soufrière. You know, it's crazy. And if you look at the video, it's really about the climb from the bottom to the top, you know. Because if you climb Soufrière before, they're going to say, yo, it's difficult. Some people don't go right up, some people go halfway. And the song is Live My Dreams, you know. So the climb is really about living your dream, you know. And I think it tied good with the volcano. And it was just mystical. It's a little bit difficult for me to explain, but it was mystical, because nothing was really planned and everything just happened naturally. Yeah. You know, the universe just connect us all together, you know.
And the weather and the clouds.
Yeah. Oh, I know what that feels like, because I've had a similar experience, I think, just with putting the festival together. Sometimes things just line up and you think, oh, if that one thing was different, would I be here now? So it does give you the sense that there's just this kind of, like you say, things line up in a certain way.
It's really about following the intuition too, because I just walk off on my spirit, I just follow my intuition, and that's something I really believe in, the universe and intuition, and because along my journey and a lot of stuff that I've seen manifested, like very quick, I was like, yeah, there have to be like not just me, it's like a bigger power behind me, and because of my whole purpose in music and everything and my mission,
Yeah.
Everything just line up for me. And I really want to big up Akley, because Akley is really a inspiration to me as well, I did a lot of work with him in the past, and just seeing he do his thing, and I doing my thing, and he always talk to me like a brother, and we encourage one another, and it's a great thing, and we definitely, Akley had to definitely link up with Southside Quarry, and we all work together, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm hoping that this, can be a chance for, these guys to connect with some other people and just keep building the family. And thank you for your work, because, we need those messages, we need that conscious music, right? And, there's nothing wrong with, I love a good soca, like, as much as anybody, I love that music too,
As an artist, like, now my realization is that I'm not limited to one genre of music, because you express yourself creatively, and I real creative, and if I wake up today and I feel like jam a soca, sing a song, and
because we
I
need
just
that.
put
We
out
need
to the
it.
universe.
Yeah. We need that. We need that. That's a part of us too, that expression, And like you say, it's important when you're creative not to limit yourself and think like, no, this is what I am, right? Or sometimes people are telling you what you are, people are telling you what you're good at and what you must be, So like you say, your intuition, to listen to that.
And big up Tom too, he real dedicated. Like when this guy sit down for work, this guy work from 6 to 6 editing. Wake up in the morning and still see him working, like, yo, so he real,
Well, that comes across in
That's really, but I worked late, yes, it's true.
And I want to add also something for Dynamite. What I have a lot of respect for, that he always does a good message in his music. And I think also for him, it's way more difficult to put a soul and a spirit, excuse me for my bad English, because it's not my first language, but to put a soul and a spirit in a video connected with the music and with the message that he wants to bring is way more difficult. To find a crowd for that, I see that also, because they all, for materialism, cars, things in video clips, I don't know what they want, and flashy things, but this is the true essence of life. We did a video with nothing, we didn't bought anything, we didn't use anything fake, we didn't use props, we used what we had on the island. And for him also, for the way that Dynamite did his way, so pure and so how he is as a person, without using anything fake or things that are materialistic, that I have really respect for. And that's why I wanted to connect with Dynamite also in the first place. Respect. And that is something that is not a lot said, because I see that the bad attracts more than the good. And that's something we want to change. On views and people who watch things, I studied it the last weeks with Dynamite also. We were checking it, and it is true. And that is something that has to change also on the islands everywhere. That's important to me, for us, for whole Southside Quarry, that we motivate the people also to show it's also cool to do good things,
Yeah, I mean, that's also what this festival is about, coming together, celebrate our culture, support one another, and like talk about these kinds of bonds, these connections, because I find when you work with people, like you said, it's important to find the right people, but sometimes it can go terribly wrong. and sometimes you can be bonded in a way that you just wouldn't be if the art didn't bring you together, you know? So I think it's powerful, it's powerful. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for sharing your
Thank you
story.
for having us.
Respect.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joel, you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Joel is calling in from Trinidad.
Yes, calling from Trinidad. Jamaican living in Trinidad.
Jamaican living in Trinidad at a
Yeah.
Vincentian Film Festival.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere.
That's the Caribbean for you.
Exactly. Thank you for your film. You know, I really wanted to include it tonight because it's a great documentary. And of course, this is a really important topic for us this year.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, had you been to St. Vincent before you made this film?
No, I have not.
You haven't?
No. I'm a friend from St. Vincent. And I've known about your film festival for a few years. I've been following you guys. But this was my first trip. Thanks to Monique Johnson. She was the one that invited me to be part of the film. We met in Jamaica. She was my roommate for a couple of years, and then I moved to Trinidad, and she's like, all right, you're here. All right, I'll give you some work, because she works at the Seismic Research Center at UA. So she's like, she's been telling me about this volcano project she wanted to do for a number of years. It just took a while to actually put it together, get everything in motion. And when it happened, I was like, all right, this is right up my alley, climbing up on a volcano. I mean, I'm a bushman too. I was born up in the hills in Jamaica. So it was right up my alley. So it's her baby. So the whole essence of it is really her. So I really like to invite her to say a few things about it too.
For sure. Is she here?
Yes, she's here, Monique.
Oh, hi, Monique.
Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Hello. So nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be in this little meeting with all these creatives, you know?
Yeah, big up everybody.
So glad to have you. And I mean, the film is like, you know, it's one of those ones that you watch and you're like, oh, wait, why hasn't this been made before? You know, like this is a huge national event in St. Vincent. And, you know, as a Vincentian, like, I didn't really know much about, you know, we heard, oh yeah, the volcano erupted, but you don't really know much, you know. And I loved the lady talking about her hot cross buns and she's taking them out the oven. I just thought that was so good. So, Monique, did you go with Joel? You guys did it together?
Yes, I was like his tour guide.
Tour guide, producer, everything.
threw him into the volcano.
Yeah.
So you work for the Seismic Center?
Yes, I do. I mean, I've been there for on and off for about 10 years. And then most of y'all would know Richie Robertson, who's my boss, associated with the volcano. He's all over the TV these days. So he put me back at Seismic a few years ago to manage the Volcano Ready project. And it's a very community-based project, and it gave me an opportunity to meet so many people in the community that we were working with, and they just all had such rich stories, such rich experiences, and I think it was really important for that to be shared, because I think like the memories fade so easily when they're not documented, and it was like about 2 or 3 years that I'd been spending a lot of time in St. Vincent and just digging, finding so much material and speaking with people. So, you know, I really thought it was something that would be important for the Vincentian people, and really that's what we did it for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope that it's well received.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you just said that you know, the memories fade. Why do you think it's important to remember?
Well, like we're seeing now, I mean, the volcano, as magnificent and beautiful and spectacular, fascinating, it's extremely dangerous. So, and that's really important. And one of the things I thought was important, I really wanted to get the Bernard's experience documented, because I think there had been some documentation on people's experiences, but to hear the economic impact and how sort of long it took for people to recover from an event like 79, it really put things in a different light, a different perspective. I think that's not often, at the forefront when we hear about volcanic eruptions.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I thought that was something that hopefully would have been meaningful for people and would have struck a different chord.
Definitely. And I mean, you think about how, like, St. Vincent is a volcanic island, it's got black sand beaches, and, it's all like that volcano is kind of so much at the heart of the topography, it's such a big part of what the island is. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredible contribution for us. We need to document these things, remember these things, remember, I think that it's important in order for us to like sort of understand our current moment, that's why it's important as well to understand what has happened historically. So, I'm really grateful for the film. And was there anything that you learned that you didn't know before when you came to St. Vincent that the film, like that making the film taught you?
Well, when we shot, that was the first time I went down into the crater, that last bit. So I was really grateful for that opportunity. I had been up to Zurie so many times, and I never got a chance to go down. When you go there on duty, it's a little different. Especially as a woman, they're constantly holding me back and telling me, don't go there. So that opportunity to go down into the crater was really impactful for me as a scientist and just as a human being in that environment. And then now we can't do that anymore. So that to me was the kind of high point in the film.
Yeah, climbing that volcano was something else. I mean, I've never experienced volcanoes up close. You only see them on TV, and when I reached to the top and I looked down, I was like, oh my God, the size of this volcano is amazing. It's like, I could fit an entire city block in there. And it's like, no, you think it's just like a little peak? It's like, you walk around it, but no, it's huge. It's like, wow. And when you go down in there, it's like, when we went there, the rain decided to come when we reached the peak, and it was literally storming. There are parts where we had to sit down and wait for the wind to blow over, because if we walk, it will literally blow us right into the volcano. So the weather was just not friendly with us. But when we reached down there, it eased up, and we saw cascading waterfalls all around the volcano on every side. It was just amazing. It was beautiful. I was like in awe the whole time. Wow. But it's really a powerful feeling being there. It's just like, it just takes you away. It's almost like unexplainable, the feeling you get when you're in a volcano. And it's still steaming as well. You're like, okay, I'm in a volcano, but it's steaming right beside me. It's like, and these things, as these guys said, a couple of days after they filmed, it just erupted. So you never know. And it's just like, just that feeling. When I told my parents I was in a volcano, look, it's steaming. They're like, what are you doing there? Are you crazy? So yeah, it was quite an experience filming that volcano.
I mean, that's one of the things that I love about making films too, is that it ends up taking you into places you just maybe never would have gone, meeting people you never would have met, having conversations you never would have met. And you go home and you're like, wow, what I've chosen to do with my life is teaching me all of this stuff about the world,
Exactly. It's a life experience I'll never forget. Just being in St. Vincent, traveling the island, going to the volcano, speaking to those people, I'll never forget it. It was an amazing experience. You have a beautiful island.
Yes, we are so grateful for that opportunity being in St. Vincent, There were so many people that we wanted to include as well. That was one of the challenges as well, tracking people down, because we're on a timeline and there's so many people we wanted to include that had amazing stories. This guy, Ras Akley from Chateau, that never left, even when the evacuation was issued. He stayed there for the entire eruption. And his story was amazing, but we couldn't get him, you know. So hopefully, I just really hope that this would inspire Vincentians to continue this work and continue documenting. And there's so much more to be told and to be captured.
You know, another thing you learn, I mean, it was on the scale of eruptions, it wasn't that big of an eruption that happened, but you know, that eruption changed people's lives forever. You know, they were thrust out of their homes in a second and they had to spend 3 months in a shelter or somebody else's home. You know, it was just like, boom, just like that. You know, your life is just changed and that experience stays with you forever. Yeah. And it was just like the woman talking about her hot cross bun, she remembers every detail of that day.
Yeah. No, I think it's an incredible sort of insight into even human psychology, you know, when you experience something like that just rattles your whole world, you know, and it's this thing that you're living side by side, like we're always living with that dangerous potential, you know, like that almost fatal potential, you know, it's always there, but we just don't always pay attention to it, you know. But
right, and which is why these years ago, so a lot of young people don't really know the gravity of, you know, they hear people's stories, they're like, oh wow, you know, it's a story, but then when you hear all of them put together and really see pictures, old pictures, how everybody, the entire island had to mobilize, is like, okay, all right, it was a serious event, and if it happens again, I really have to, you know, think hard about what I'm going to do. I have to really prepare.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I mean, it's so great to have you here and to learn of your love for our little island, which we treasure so much. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, man. Respect. What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Javed, how you doing? You here, Javed? Is he with us? I'm going through. Can't see him. No Javed. Oh no. Okay, well, we'll move on. Next up is Mommy. Hi, Mommy. Mommy?
Sorry. Greetings. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. No, we missed Camillo. Sorry,
Yeah,
my bad.
What about Hayden?
My bad. And Hayden. Hayden's here? Watch enough people inside this place. And then, guys, this is so great. I love this. Okay, hold on. Sorry, Mommy. We're going back. Camillo. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, it's so great to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I've been following your work for a little while now, and I think you have such a knack for capturing landscape and for transition and for composition. And you know, your trip to Grenada just looked so fun. I was like, boy, I want to. You're like, you need to have adventures. I was like, let's go. I was like, oh, COVID, we can't do that. But I wanted to ask you, like, how did you get into filmmaking? Why did you decide to do this?
I'll be very honest. It's because videography for me was like, I hated it with a passion, honestly. Yeah. I never ever liked videography. Like, I hated it, like, because where I used to volunteer when I started pretty much learning about camera, we had projects to do that involved doing videos, and I just hated it with my entire being. And as years went by, I got reasonably good at photography, and I felt like I learned all the fundamentals and everything that I want for myself in terms of photography. And I was like, let me try my hand at videography, you know? And then I started experimenting with a few YouTube videos. And like, as the year went by, it just became like a challenge for me. And then as I saw other people's work, I just had this love for it. And I was like, yeah, I want to be like that. And I just want to just see if I can pull this off, if I could pull that off. And so it just kind of just went into my DNA.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a growth.
And now you can't stop. Now you
can't stop, because this year I want to really focus on videography instead of photography. Like that is my main focus right now.
Well, I say you really have a talent for it, for sure, you know, and it's great to hear that it sort of came out of this, you know, you're sort of like, oh, how can I master that, or like, to use, you know, Dynamite's sort of metaphor, how can I climb that mountain, you know, and all of these, and then that's kind of how you grow, right? So you grew from strength to strength.
Yeah, it became a sort of pet peeve for me, actually, because like I'm a very patriotic person when it comes to St. Vincent. So I'm like I want St. Vincent to be displayed like in the best of the best. Like to be honest, like no shade to anybody, if I see like a photo of pretty much anywhere in St. Vincent that ends up on a really big page and it looks really crappy, I would be annoyed at that. Like that is how deep it goes for me. Like if you're displaying my country, you display it well.
Yeah.
You understand? So yeah, that's pretty much how I am with my work and photography and videography.
I love it, and that standard really comes across in the quality of your images. I mean, you know, it's very beautiful, you know. So it's cool to hear you say that. You're like, okay, you know what? If you want something done, you do it yourself.
Yeah. I guess so.
Fantastic. So what's up next for you? More films?
Yeah, actually my next big project for myself personally would be a documentary based on my life and like how I got to this point, because I feel like my backstory has a lot of substance where a lot of people could just like really see how things came about. Like it was rough, you know, it wasn't all easy. It was not an easy road. Like it was a really rough road coming up.
Yeah.
You know, never thought I would be doing this in my life.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. No, I know how it goes. Well, I can't wait to see it and show it next year at our festival.
Well, hopefully everything goes well.
Right?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, Hayden. Are you with us? He was just here. I don't know. He disappeared. Okay, we can go to Mommy then, and then come back to him. Mom?
Hi.
Oh, you're here. Sorry, Mom.
I am so sorry.
No worries. I know you're here the whole time. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Great to have you.
Well, thanks for having me as well. I never thought I'll be part of a film festival ever in my life. So this is, of course, a privilege.
This is going to be the first of many, you know? So.
Yeah, I hope so.
Definitely.
Certainly.
So your film, I love it. You know, I think it was such an accomplishment. The fight scene was awesome. And obviously, you know, I love the representation of the indigenous people. And of course, like, you know, starting it off with this little girl being killed, potentially, you know, it was so, I was like, no, is it the agouti? Is it the little girl? You know, it was intense. But I wanted to ask you, like, why did you choose the indigenous people for this story?
Great. Before I answer, I want to just salute a few people who are on here. I feel like I've worked with many of them. I worked with Camilo before. I worked with Dynamite, who did one of my music videos. I worked with Akley, who did maybe my very first, my second music video featuring St. Vincent. So like Camilo and Akley would have said, I'm very patriotic. I am very into what I call our Vincentianism. I love our language, I love our culture, I love our people. And I am, of course, from Orange Hill, and my grandfather is from Sandy Bay. So I could identify very vividly with the Garifuna, Kalinago people. When I grew up, it was sort of a taboo or almost a scorn to be a Kalinago. And even before I knew I was part of that tribe, I would have, of course, looked down on the same people who I now adore because of ignorance and because of lack of education. But I have seen how much our language have been taken from us and our culture has been raped from us, basically, the whole genocide, the whole exile. And I thought, what other way to bring, a spotlight on the people and to pay homage to their struggle and to their victories and to include them in my film.
Fantastic, fantastic. That the language that was spoken in the video.
We use the Garifuna language.
Fantastic, amazing. I think that's a really beautiful and important story. And you talked about how Indigenous people were scorned. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think the power that be at the time made it their goal to really degrade or to ostracize or to really make the Garifuna people or the Kalinago people look like dirt, So it just, through time, it became an accepted sort of stereotype that we are dirty, we are we eat our own people, we are uneducated. So it basically is something that I grew up hearing, that our women are slack, our men are drunkards, and we do nothing. But what we have seen an accomplishment of so many Garifuna and Kalinago people over the decades.
Mm-hmm.
So we are by no least unimportant. We are as important as any other tribe, any other people.
Absolutely, and of course, we have the Garifuna who were exiled, who live now in Belize, and they do their annual pilgrimage over. They still consider St. Vincent to be their motherland, and I think that kind of deep ancestral connection to land definitely signifies a sophistication of culture, right? And a sophistication of spirituality. And then of course, it was in the colonial mandate to dehumanize, right? It makes it easier to do something terrible to people when you make them subhuman.
That's right.
So that's why part of why we wanted to make the festival as well is because we know that our stories were traditionally taken, right? Mm-hmm. They were traditionally distorted like this. So what you're actually reclaiming your story now by being like, no, this is actually the truth, We're gonna take it back out of these colonial hands.
That's right.
Embrace that,
And I feel like that has been my goal, because I started a t-shirt line about 3-4 years ago, just using it as an educational tool to sort of break the stigma and to celebrate our people. I had someone that said, I am Garifuna, I am Kalinago, and just sort of highlight some positive part of our history and our culture so that people become very connected to that positive side of it rather than looking at the derogatory terms that were used about our people.
Amazing. Incredible. Well, I could sit here and talk about this for a while, but unfortunately we've got to keep moving. But thank you so much. And looking forward to more work. And that song is so catchy. You're feeling overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's such a catchy song. I love it.
And I still have pains because I've been fighting and doing my own stunts. I still have shoulder pains and toe pains for kicking and fighting.
And there's a part where you do a flip over.
I did. I trained for 3 weeks with the guy I fought with in the movie. I trained with him for 3 weeks and he was amazing. I'm telling you. But I also want to pick up Joshua Anderson, who is the filmmaker on this one, and also Jamel Boyens, who did the editing. So it was a truly, as Jamali said, it was a truly collaborative effort. And without them, I couldn't have done this.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your work.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, mommy.
Really? My turn?
This time we reach. And
greetings, everyone. It's amazing to be here. It really is. Fascinating. Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate all you creatives. I'm really, really proud of everybody. And the submissions have been amazing. And just to hear about everybody's interpretation of how the film medium is, how they've used the film medium to get across the personal stories, the things that they're passionate about. It's just amazing. And you see all the different aspects of film as a medium, and
yeah,
it's really amazing. Congrats, everybody. Fantastic work.
I agree. I feel so blessed to be here with everybody, and like, because you know, you see little pieces of work here and there, but to sit down and everybody just kind of geek out about it for a minute and,
yeah,
and just be connected over this mutual love, you know.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and you really get the sense of everyone connecting and moving together as well. And I think the film festival, and congratulations to everyone who's been involved in putting the film festival together. It's a tremendous catalyst for you know, bringing people together and also raising everyone, encouraging everyone to keep going together, you know. So brilliant work.
So I think pretty much everybody is familiar with your work and in the prison, the amazing rehabilitation project that you do there, which isn't that, you know, grass is one part, but you've also launched a literacy project, and you also were teaching painting as well. And the quality, the standard, the incredible designs, you know, the project has really evolved. And in this film, you know, it's the planting of the nursery. And I guess I wanted to ask, what specifically about working with nature do you think is important? Like, is healing, is rehabilitative?
There's so many different aspects. And to get back to the film, that Hand to Earth is the organization, the NGO that sort of applied for the funding of the film. And many people may not know about a little bit of background about that organization. It started in 2007 as a sort of livelihoods project for students in the college who were involved in the art program. And it sort of evolved now to having been registered as an NGO in 2017. And what we do through that organization is to source funding for sustainable livelihood. So to get back to your question about the importance of nature, all the work we do is, you'd notice the slogan was soil-centered livelihoods. So what we do is focus our projects on those who are at most risk of social marginalization and economic dislocation. But we work with nature in such a way that we bring in challenges. We address challenge in the context of climate change, in the context of our heritage. And so the film itself was done from that premise, working with the prisoners. And we wanted to use the film, as you know, I mean, really, I'm here just as a collaborator because you're the director of the film.
Well, it was a co-directing kind of situation.
So yeah, but using the very important medium of film in that context of the project work to do two things mainly. And one was to educate people about vetiver and the importance of it within the context of climate change and land conservation and food security. But secondly, to enable, to encourage a changing of attitudes towards prisoners, public attitudes towards the prisoners themselves. So in both the films, in the Grassmen 1 and the Grassmen 2, that was the main focus of enabling, and as everybody has seen that film now, it was helping a particular prisoner to tell his story. And so this is where I think the medium of film is so powerful in that context, because really my experience is in practical implementation, project design, visual arts, you know, a lot of very hands-on manual work, you know, but working with the film medium, bringing that to the film medium, you're really taking it the next step further. We noticed with Grassmen 1 that the interest in the products was phenomenal after the film. You know, after the film, we got so much more interest and support, public support for the project than we would have had we not had the film. So it's a very powerful medium.
What changes did you notice in the participants?
In the prisoner participants?
Yeah, like did the project affect them in certain ways?
The project itself or the film? The project?
Well, yeah, the project, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting doing this work because I've worked a lot with community college students in the past, but to work with prisoners in the context of rehabilitation, it's really, it really gets you to look deeply into the transformative aspects of the activities, you know, and you have to look at all the different circumstances that have led to an individual becoming incarcerated in the first place. Everybody is different. And then you have to frame the project in such a way that you enable them to feel differently about themselves, not to also discover the potential. But a lot of the people in prison have had particularly challenging circumstances in life and may have reached a certain self-image that contributes to a sort of spiraling, I work with a lot of reoffenders, so they get caught in a sort of pattern of behavior that has actually been conditioned from external circumstances, from people's attitudes towards them, from all sorts of psychosocial factors. So the project work now, I mean, we're working with nature, which is very healing, which is our heritage, which is highly important to understand in terms of the future, how we're going to survive in the future, how we're going to work with nature to restore the quality of the soil so that we can sustain generations to come. So there is all that content that you're working with, but in such a way that the collaboration, I say, is based on trust, the way I work with the prisoners, and in such a way that they can embrace it as part of themselves. And you'll find that, well, you know some of the guys, and you know how impactful the craft project has been for them. Even if they don't continue when they come out of prison, the process of doing it in prison is almost like a transformation in itself, because it encourages a sort of focus, a sort of meditation, a sense of accomplishment each day, the ability to plan, the ability to design. So you're working in really dire circumstances, but within that you're creating out of it. And that gives such an incredible reference point for those people when they come out of prison now. Even if they don't continue the grass work, they have that experience and they know that they can create out of any experience, any challenge that comes their way. You know, there's so much to say about it. I don't know.
It's a big, I know it's hard huge to kind of pack everything into a few minutes. But I think you've done a really good job at just giving that whole overview. And I know from working on these films and interacting with the guys, you know, they say that they feel less angry. It makes the time go by faster. And I think there have been a few people who were reoffenders who after the project, you know, didn't didn't end up going back in as well, which is really significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have seen, you know, over 6 years or so that I've been doing this work, there's a very low rate of recidivism, of reoffending among the guys, the hundreds of guys who've gone through these programs.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, the rate in the general prison population is about 60 to 70% are reoffenders, you know, and half of those have been in more than 4 or 5 times to prison. So we're seeing in among the data that we've kept so far over 6 years, 3% reoffending. So, and they're very short. All those 3% are all due to addiction issues anyway, you know. So that's that's another aspect to rehabilitation that needs its specialist area.
Well, you know, I think that's a pretty good indicator of the success of the project.
We keep going.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
Of course. Okay, so Melanie, last but not least.
Good night, everyone.
Hello. Sorry, I'm just trying to find you on my thing. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm so happy to have you here and finally be chatting kind of, you know, face to face.
Yeah. I'm really happy to be here as well.
I really love your film. I remember when I first saw it not long ago, and Mommy had sent it to me, and I just thought it was so incredibly beautiful. I think like that accessibility that you had, or that intimacy with the subject, like because you're in it, you know, and you're kind of like having this conversation almost sort of with yourself as well about what this process is like of, you know, and you know, like when I was messaging you about it and I was just like geeking out about all the vision stuff and all the metaphors and removing vision, and you know how you need to like lose your vision in order to like see in this more kind of profound way, all these different ways of seeing. You know, I really loved it, and I love that you invited us to kind of lose our vision while we were watching it, you know. So, you know, in all of these ways, I thought it was really, really great piece of work, and I'm so glad that we could include it. So enough of my blabbering. I wanted to ask, how did making the film inform your relationship to your faith, I guess? Like, did you learn more maybe because the camera was there, or did it change the experience?
That's a whole conversation. Well, I want to start at the beginning. Book of Jasmine, which is a fiction film. I was doing research for that. I didn't really know anything about spiritual baptism. It's not something that I was born or raised in. In fact, I was very agnostic and very skeptical when I came to it. But I was doing research for the film, and I just started connecting to all these different elements of it. And I decided to join the faith as a result of that. So for me, Book of Jasmine literally changed my life. And a lot of my films, all of my films have like changed my life in such a drastic way. And because I did the Book of Jasmine, it won an award, which gave me a scholarship, which allowed me to do my master's, which this is my master's film. And how it changed my faith, I think I struggled a lot. And I should say, like, I don't consider myself spiritual Baptist currently because, well, I will explain. But coming into that space, there was Melanie, the filmmaker, and Melanie, who was trying to learn about this spiritual practice. And then I put on top of that Melanie, the anthropologist, who was doing research. So it was really hard for me to shift between seeing it through the lens of somebody who's practicing this, and then analyzing it on all these different levels, on levels of gender and power and race relations and class relations and all these different layers to it. And it was making this film, I felt that disconnection even more from it, because I was there with my camera. Like, I wasn't participating. Everything that you see, I wanted it to feel like the camera was participating because of how close I went to my participants. But I felt very disconnected from everything that was going on. You know, I couldn't, there are moments where I purposely put the camera down to just experience it, because it's such, like, it's such a powerful space, a moving space. But I did feel the distancing after I made this film because of that. Yeah.
I mean, that's something I've thought about a lot with my own work as well, because you kind of become, you know, when I spent quite a number of years in New York, and during that time I went to a lot of protests that were going on at the time, and I volunteered for a lot of organizations just filming stuff. And partly because I wasn't a US visa holder, citizen, I was a little more vulnerable, right? Because if I got arrested, like, possibly could get my visa revoked or whatever. Yeah. So being behind the camera was almost like kind of a safety net, you know? You could kind of like be there, but not be fully culpable in a kind of way, you know? You're there, you're observing. But then, you know, that also brings up other things, and I went through all of these kinds of ideas about, you know, ethically, like, what does it mean to take somebody's image as a documentary filmmaker? You know, is there a kind of, you know, even like, I don't know, arrogance to this? You know, these are all the things I was just thinking about, because I wanted to be someone who was being mindful about what they were creating and how it was being made. You know, so I totally, and sort of grappling with all of that, like these ways of vision and accessibility and respect for your subject. And, you know, that's the kind of thing, like, you know, you don't just want to show up places and film stuff, or, you know, and how does that then become like a safety net?
Yeah.
You know?
Those are all things that I dealt with too, because I studied anthropology and the history of anthropology. Like, I am not somebody who's usually conducting the research, you know, someone from the Caribbean. There's usually outsiders who come into the space, conduct the research, extract that information, and then share it with people. And I'm happy that when I was filming, I kept hitting these roadblocks. Like, I can't see this, they don't want to share this. So then that led to the questioning, like, who has the right to film whom? Like, who has the right to come into a space and take knowledge, take information and share it with other people? That should always be in the hands of the people whose stories we are attempting to share. So it was a very collaborative process for me, versus being a complete observer. Like, it's important for me to then have everybody contribute their ideas on how they want to be represented.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, because inevitably you're gonna encounter these questions, you know, and that's really, I think, the best way to navigate them is just by being open and listening and being aware and fostering a spirit of collaboration, and, you know, and being, you know, learning that it's okay to be like, oh wait, hang on, I actually don't, maybe I don't agree with how I did that then.
Yeah.
Let me try and do it differently next time, and just knowing that that's okay, you know, because I think a lot of people are scared to be like, shit, did I fuck up? You know, like, and that's okay. We're all gonna make mistakes, and, you know, that's normal, you know. And I think, like, you know, I know you said that you're not a part of the faith anymore, but it seems like regardless of that, this experience of making the film, I feel like every project changes us, you know, and what we do, it's not just about the final product, you know, like what we choose to do is about the process, like, because what we spend all that time doing, it changes us. And But it sounds to me like this film had a really strong impact on you personally.
Yeah. I mean, I still love it. It's still part of me. It's always going to be part of me.
It's a fantastic piece of work. Yeah, it really is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you working on anything next?
Yeah. I just got some funding for a short film, which is my first film that I'm making here in St. Vincent.
Yeah.
It's a little story, and I look forward to making it. Yeah.
Congrats. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Excited. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We got a couple questions. I'll see how many we can take. How's everybody? I know it's long, but I feel like the conversation's been, everybody's just brought such great stuff to the table. Future Smith has a question for Melanie. What was the most memorable lesson or moment directing Those Who Have Eyes to See?
I know exactly what moment that is. Well, first of all, teacher Raquel, who you see speak in the film, she literally took me under her wing and showed me everything she knew, and that was amazing. Like, I just came to film, and I spent 3 months in Trinidad just filming. That's all I was doing. So we hung out all the time, and she just taught me everything. And there was a moment where the scene where they're by the river and they're singing together, and I just put my camera down to be part of it. And everybody, if you haven't been in the spiritual Baptist space, you will understand when everybody's singing and they come together and everybody's making different sounds and it all comes together in that moment. And I just started crying because of how beautiful it was. Here we by a river just singing, and everybody's feeling the sense of like spirituality, and that moment for me, like, I'll never forget that.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. That sounds really amazing. John Tay, I'm sorry guys if I'm not pronouncing your names properly. John Tay Woodley has passed on a lovely comment. I can't help but feel so proud knowing my country and people are a part of something so big. Thanks to Mr. Jamali Jack for educating me about such a powerful organization and such an amazing team among our Vincentian people. I'm honored to be here. Oh, thank you so much. See, that's the kind of, this is why we do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, thank you so much for being here. Jamon Bergen, question for anyone. What are some technical and or social challenges, example, equipment, interviewing clients, you face when creating your pieces? Anyone want to chime in with some challenges? I know there's probably many. Anyone?
Right now in COVID, there's the challenge of keeping yourself safe as you continue, to work and to socialize. And, like, well, I don't know, like I've been using the Zoom a bit more, just to be able to like, get a shot and not to be up in somebody's space, like there are different things that you could think about or you have to think about now when you go out there to capture these images. And also sound, sound is an issue or a challenge that we haven't necessarily confronted in the best way in St. Vincent in terms of the production. I mean, I know there are like music studios and in-house sound, but when you go to do field sound, like I've been looking for a boom pole, nobody don't have one. Nobody have a boom pole in this country. It's ridiculous, so.
I know Trevor uses a tripod with the.
Yeah, so I'm using like a light stand, and I said that's a great initiative there. But the other part of it is I guess being adventurous enough to just be flexible and to do like Javid, and figure it out and make these things or get these shots by whatever means necessary.
Yeah, agreed. Anybody else have any kind of big challenges that they grapple with? battery life, how many batteries you have.
Aiko, if I can chime in, I'm glad Aiko, sorry, Akley spoke about audio because I was gonna mention that because I just love good audio and I mean I'm really impressed with a lot of the films that I've seen here tonight that I'd be like, wow, that's such great audio, you know. But seeing that he mentioned that, one of the things I think I would mention, and it's not so much a technical challenge, although you could see it that way, is getting to the space where you release what you're working on. The reason why I say so is that sometimes we noodle and we noodle and we noodle and we carve and we just want it just right. And sometimes you have to take a step back and say, hey, you know what, I can get it on the next one. I can't spend an entire lifetime trying to perfect a film. And I think all the films are perfect that we saw tonight. But to get to that space where I remember someone says, there's this podcast I listen to called 99% Invisible by Roman Mars, and it deals with a lot of design issues. And one of the things I heard, and I'll always remember it, is that you don't really complete a film, you release it. You know, it's like, it's just time to go now. And I could pour all of that work into the next one. So to me, that's a really big challenge, especially for first time filmmakers, because there is this expectation that I have to get it right the first time. And I like to tell people, when you look at some of the biggest filmmakers or YouTubers, when you look at their early work, I mean, even they themselves, I look at some of my early work. I started in like 97. And I want to take this, as I remember that, I just want to give real big props to Vonnie, because I've known Vonnie since the Fiberworks days, and she's always been the biggest inspiration to me. But I just want to, like, sometimes you just have to get to the point where you say, you know what, it's done.
Yeah.
So I think that's a technical challenge.
Yeah, I agree, because in some cases, like, that attention to detail and that attention to, you know, the quality of what you're doing is that's an important characteristic, right? Because that pushes you to have your work be a certain standard. But then there's another side to that coin, which is that you can get paralyzed by overthinking. You know, you can look at the, sometimes I look at the smallest thing and then I'm not paying attention to the bulk of it, and, you know, everyone's like, well, no one would even notice that thing, you know what I mean? So I think that that's a great point, being able to, like, recognize that side of yourself, and you're like, okay, you know, I need to let this go.
Hi, Aiko. Can I just piggyback on that? To say that I completely agree with everything that you guys have just said, but there is an additional element that I experienced where I was afraid of, like, what people are gonna think, and afraid that whatever I put out is not going to be good enough, and that there's like an element of judgment that might come along with the work that I'm putting out. And that was really a challenge for me, because even now, like, I was, you know, you guys sent a lot of like email blasting to like promote the festival. And I was like petrified of doing that, because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for people to like see this. So yeah, that was a very important point that you guys raised about putting out, having that feeling of the work not being good enough or ready or perfect.
Yeah, no, it's really, I'm really happy that you brought that up, because that is, I know that feeling really well, you know. And I've learned that sometimes I really struggle to have any objectivity on my own work. You know, it's like I'll be making this and then I can't see it, and there's a point where I have to show it to other people, because I can't see it anymore, because I've just been staring at this thing for so long, you know. So you kind of lose perspective in a way. But I totally understand, it can be terrifying sharing your stuff. You're like, is this good? Like, are people gonna respond, you know? But I'm so happy that you did. I'm so happy that you're here sharing your story with us, like, you know. So hopefully this is encouraging in that regard.
Oh, definitely it was.
So glad. Okay, so from Jihan Jack, can we do a poll? Do any of your filmmakers have plans to submit their films to other festivals? Regional, there's a raise of hands thing here. Regional or international? Is anyone submitting stuff to other festivals?
Yes, I have. I've submitted to at least 6 or 7 festivals internationally. We won an award in the monthly indie film, the Juror's Choice, and also we were selected for the link, I think it is something like that. lift off.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's a whole part of this too, is spreading these stories, because I think, we have a lot to offer, and now that our production is growing, it goes back to also what Akley was saying about us reaching, sharing our messages sort of far and wide, and bringing that attention onto the island and onto what we have to contribute.
Aiko, can I just jump in really quick? So, so on the topic of film festivals, so I'm working this year with the Caribbean Tales Film Festival in Toronto. Akley is familiar with them; he's worked with them before. So I'm gonna pop a link in the chat. I believe they're open for submission still, if anyone's interested in submitting for Caribbean Tales.
Yeah, fantastic! It's a great festival in Toronto. Okay, we've got a couple more. Jamon Bergen, question for anyone. Are there any artists within this group you would be interested in collaborating with? I think quite a few of us have collaborated together. And I don't know, I mean, personally, it's just great to see everybody and hear from everybody about what their experience is. And I mean, does anyone else here feel like this meetup is kind of maybe giving you ideas about collaborations and stuff? Because like we say, filmmaking is not easy, it's really hard, and we can't really do it. We can do it alone, but some projects you just need somebody to hold that tripod with the mic strapped to the end of it.
Yeah, well, if I come back to St. Vincent for a project, I'm definitely linking one of y'all's for sure, because collaboration is where it's at. Because last time was just me and Nick running around doing everything. So yeah, for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah, before I address the question, I'll just say, actually a painter's pole, you'd be surprised how good that works. But regarding the question of collaboration, and I'm glad that it was asked, because a number of the persons who have films here have followed their work, and I've been really a number of them, not all, and I'm glad that I've got to see some of the new ones so I can follow them. I already started to do that on Instagram, but I appreciate people who take pride and passion in their work. When I remember years ago when I started to follow KB Pixels, I'm like, this guy is so great. And then I'm happy to hear that you're doing a documentary, because I remember when you used to do YouTube videos, you spoke a little bit about that, but it was so short. I'm like, I want to hear the rest of the story. But I think for me, having done this stuff for as long as I've done, I think networking is one of the most important things, because there's nothing better than working with passionate people. And my biggest problem with collaboration, honestly, is I don't have enough time to do passion projects. That's my biggest problem, because I mean, I remember about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, seeing Dynamite perform at a tourism career fair. And then to see him now, I'm like, wow, to see the blossoming and so on. And when I was looking at Hayden's video, and I think Akley would be able to identify with this, because for a long time, a number of filmmakers in St. Vincent were talking about the idea of doing a Gary Funa type movie. During the time I was in Taiwan, I think this is about 2011, there was a film called Cider Balai. That's the Mandarin for it. And it's called in English, I think it's Sadiq Bali, or Warriors of the Rainbow. And it was about the Aboriginal people in Taiwan and the struggle that they had with the Japanese who occupied Taiwan at the time. And I remember looking at that and thinking, we need to have this the Vincentian version of this story. So I was so happy to see a number of the films here tonight. So Akley and Hayden and everyone else, I'm putting you guys on this. I would love to see that film come to fruition, a full-length film. Actually, that film was 4 hours and 36 minutes long, and I enjoyed every second of it.
4
And I
hours?
know we could.
4 hours, you said?
4 hours and 36 minutes long.
That's
Yeah.
different.
And imagine looking at a film that long, reading subtitles, because my Mandarin is not that as great as I would like it to be. But yeah, I would have no problem collaborating with anyone who is as passionate as all these guys I see.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Jamali. We have a question here for Akley from Future Smith. I think I know who that is it harder to get started or to keep going? And what was the particular thing that you had to conquer to do either?
That's a big question there, boy. Is it harder to get started or to keep going? I feel like if you get started, you should just keep going. And there will be moments when you question your sanity, you want to pull out your hair, or cut them off, or just change your whole self. But I mean, every time you put something out, you respond to people, people respond to you, the world, accepts what you have to say, and it encourages you. So if you stop, then you're taking something away from yourself. That's what I think. So I just keep going, and then there are moments like this, when things line up and a surprise comes out of nowhere, and then suddenly, all these faces are looking back at you and saying, "Oh, I'm a Vincy filmmaker too." So, I think the most beautiful thing I discovered in all of this creating and making is there is a point when the art kind of develops a life of its own, and it kind of like takes over in its own creation. And even though you are the person who might be the vessel to like pull it into this realm, it kind of like knows what it's supposed to do. And if you allow it, it kind of like invites you into a piece of magic. And I just like being a part of that, and just holding on to that. So I don't know, if you discover that, then, keep going, don't stop.
Yeah. I love how you put that. That was really nice.
I just wanted to jump in there and just say something to Jamali. I love that you said that we need like a feature narrative that explains the history of St. Vincent, so that we could see it, so the people could see it and whatever. But we in St. Vincent have a thing where we say, passion project and this, and and it kind of like, I mean, I understand where it comes from, but I feel like it's very important for us to start thinking about this thing in a more structured way. And like, the people at tourism need to be able to see what you're seeing, and understand how a film industry or a film project like the one you're describing would benefit not only the people who are creating it, but the country in itself, like, I just feel like we need to change how we approach everything. I just feel like it needs to be a little bit more structured. I mean, this meeting right now is the basis of that, but I just keep, like trying to ask for more. Like, I'm sure Melanie could attest to like what the filmmaking experience is like in Barbados, which is 40 minutes away. And it's a little bit more developed, and I just want to like, I don't know, I just want us to like think beyond this being a passion thing and think about it being business. Like, yeah.
I can see where you're coming from. I mean, I've heard different conflicting things about what it's like in Barbados as well. And I mean, I do also think, I think maybe, there could be a balance between the passion and the business, but I definitely see what you mean, because, without the passion, we can't build the business, right? But at some point, that kind of bridge needs to be built. And I feel like if we all, keep making the work, which, it seems like to me, everybody here, it's not really even a choice at this point, you know, like, you know, that kind of compulsion where you're like, this is who I am, I need to make stuff, you know. And certainly, I mean, does anybody else have any comments about you know, the Vincentian industry and kind of what we might need to sort of build it, develop it?
Yeah, and I agree with what you say, Akley. I want to make it clear though that I'm here representing Jamali Jack and not the St. Vincent and Grenadines Tourism Authority. But I would say this though, that on a serious note, that I remember a few years ago, there was an initiative that was spearheaded by a pretty big organization in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in collaboration with a company called Toon Boon to really harness the Vincentian filmmaking community. This was about, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. I think at that time though, that the industry, if you want to call it that, the filmmaking industry in St. Vincent wasn't that developed. And one of the things that I think a lot has happened in the last few years, especially in terms of with equipment getting cheaper, the proliferation of YouTube and so on, and people just feeling more comfortable putting their own stories out there. I know WicoWico is a big believer in us telling stories. So for me, I think I see it kind of similar to our music industry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where we have to understand it is a growing industry for people like you and I, Akley, who've been in it forever. For us, like the time has already passed, but in terms of the rest of the society understanding and appreciating the benefit of it, I think this is where things like the Hairouna Film Festival comes in a big way, because a lot of people are surprised. And again, I've heard Aiko say this, wait, do you mean to tell me they make films in the Caribbean? They make films in St. Vincent. And the more we tell those stories, is the more people will sit up who may not necessarily be in the industry, who will sit up and notice and think, you know what, this could be something that is very profitable. In the early 2000s, we had Jerry Bruckheimer, Gore Verbinski, Disney came to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to do a multi-million-dollar film that has spun off into a very profitable franchise. Even before that, this is when I was probably in secondary school, we had White Squall with Jeff Bridges and so on. So the more people see the content coming out, I think the more people will see or think or understand this is a viable industry in terms of locally. But even as I say that, I want to also make the point, as was asked with the question by Jahan Jack about entering into film festivals. I think there are a number of avenues that we can access to put our films out there, to access funds to create even more content. But I agree with what you say regarding, you know, more money needs to be put into it. But we are the ones who kind of have to struggle a little bit to convince people that this could be something that's very profitable.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue into, as we're wrapping up, the announcement that I want to make, which is that as of tonight, we are launching an initiative called the Hairouna Film Lab. And we've been developing this in collaboration with Soho House, who is one of our supporters this year. And this is essentially a sort of like script to screen competition that's open to Vincentian nationals living in St. Vincent. And basically, you know, if you win the competition, you get $10,000 US to make your film. So each script, it should be about like 10 pages. We're going to publish all the information on our website, and there's terms and conditions. But basically, each script, it should be an original script, so not something that you had basically like written before. And there's a few rounds to the process. So basically, everyone, there's about 6 weeks. So it starts today and there's 6 weeks. You submit your script and 10 of the strongest scripts will be selected to make a sort of proof of concept. And based on that proof of concept, and that can just be made on a phone or whatever you have, just 2 minutes long, based on that proof of concept, 2 people will be chosen. And those 2 people will do a filmmaking residency, well, script writing residency at the Soho Beach House in Canouan with Emil Amin, who was here with us on last Saturday when we showed Yadi. He's the lead in Yadi, and he's currently directing his own feature film. With Emil Amin and Michelle Serrault, who is a St. Lucian filmmaker who made a film called Sugar that we watched in 2019. And she's a teacher and an amazing filmmaker. And based on that, on what happens in those couple days, 1 person will be selected and they will be awarded the funds to put towards their project. So this is something that, you know, we had wanted to develop for a while because we want to be able to help people directly produce more work. And we hope that this isn't the first project of the kind that we do, but we're really excited to announce it. And yeah, and we can't wait to read all of these scripts, these amazing scripts. And the idea is that, you know, obviously there is one winner at the end that gets the final prize money, but along the way, it's, you know, there's opportunities for mentorship, for connection, for developing your work and stuff like that. So yeah, as of now, it's officially open. And yeah, send us your stuff.
Fantastic.
Thank you all so much. So yeah, it's been an amazing conversation. And I am so happy to have you all here and for all of your contributions. Yeah, it's been fantastic. Does anyone have anything they want to say?
Yeah, I go.
Yeah,
sorry.
Oh,
sorry. No,
no, go ahead, go ahead. No,
I insist we didn't hear Kengy for the night.
No, I just wanted to say thank you guys, everyone. Congratulations to everybody. I haven't seen all the films yet, but so far I've seen really amazing, inspiring, a lot of things that I resonated with. And thank you to Aiko and Beth for this amazing opportunity, because I really think St. Vincent needs to big up itself as far as like the art industry and filmmaking. Yeah, I'm just excited to see what is being stored in the future. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Aiko, that I put it in the comments, but I didn't hear it. And I would really like to pitch the idea. I mean, I know you guys, you, Beth, Karen, Olivia, you do awesome work. And I know there are a lot of people you probably have behind the scenes too. But just being in this space and hearing all of these great stories, I said, you know what, so many great stories, so little time. And I love podcasts. I would love to see Hairouna Film Festival, the podcast, where maybe you can spend time, you know, just talking individually to these filmmakers, they process their movies, they whatever. I think is something that could really grow and people could catch on to the more stories that we tell about what goes into making a film. And the other thing I wanted to say is that, again, I'm really inspired by a lot of these films, well, all the films that I've seen. And the reason why I want to make that point, and it comes from something that happened with Akley, actually, because I had the opportunity based on my work to go, well, I was supposed to have the opportunity to go to Canada to document something, and for different reasons, have other things to do, I couldn't make it. And Akley, I was like, you know what, thank God Akley is in Canada so that he could do it. But this is the point I want to make. When I looked at what he did, I'll be honest, I'm thinking, you know, it's not the way in which I would have done it, but I appreciated it so much. And that is I remember earlier Indira said she'll piggyback off the comment. I'm going to piggyback back off of you, Indira, in terms of when you were saying about not knowing whether or not people are going to like it. And again, for the years I've been in this, I've now come to the point where I appreciate films are never good or bad. It may not be the type of film that I may personally do, but I can appreciate it for the story that it tells, for the technical quality. And I really think that that is something it is important for other people to appreciate, that as filmmakers, we may all have our own style, you know, or whatever. but that doesn't make your film any worse or better than someone else's, because the most important thing is your vision, your story comes to fruition. And even if, yes, we would love it to, be the final selection in Cannes Film Festival and win an Academy Award, and that's great if that happens. But if only one person comes to it, and that person is you, because you've seen your vision come on the screen, I think that is successful. Not to take away what Akley says, I think that there is a commercial aspect to it, that it would be great, but just the idea of us bringing our stories to screen. So I congratulate all of you, and especially Aiko and her team. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Jamali. I think that that's a really important point. Cultivate that vision, definitely. Thank you. Any other closing comments from anybody? No.
Thank you, Aiko. And thanks everyone again. Like I said before, I really feel like I'm in good company. I would love to continue this conversation. I know the question came up about the Vincentian film industry. And I don't think we have enough time to really delve into that. So I'm open to continuing that conversation if someone wants to set that up at some point. And I'm also open to collaborating with all you wonderful filmmakers on this call.
Amazing. Thank you, Indira.
I would like to add out something too. I would like to thank you also that we were part of this, to all of you, and that I liked everything, and that we meet all of you, because we are not from here. We're planning to do more projects here in Vincent, and to work with, like you said, collaborations, to work with multiple artists. And we're looking also for the unknown artists, for the people who has less chance to get their stuff out there. And as you say, we want to be part of the growing business of making film, but also the passion and the business side of spreading it worldwide, spreading it to Europe, and with my connections, spreading it to everybody's connections, that we get a community. And I see it like a great start also, this festival, to make that connection, that you can form something, because there's always dividement also in the film business and competition, like people say to each other. But it's nice to know each other also, and to work together to make it happen, to grow as an island here, because it's so small, you always cross each other eventually.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you all for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. It's been such a pleasure to have everybody here. Really. Okay, amazing. Were you just waiting for this moment the whole time?
Yeah.
I
was waiting for you to say that's a wrap, and I'll say it.
I love it. I love it. You guys are all amazing.
Thanks everyone
really
for sharing. It's been amazing.
Thank you for inviting me to be part of it as well. And bless up to everybody.
For sure, for sure. Till next time. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Blessings.
Bye guys.
Bye.